Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Sloker and this is my informative speech on engineering. Here at Northern Virginia Community College, they offer three major types of engineering: civil engineering, electrical engineering, and computer engineering. Engineering's been around since the beginning of time. There's always been a need to engineer something. Every time you make something, you're engineering it. Back in the ancient world, you had to engineer tools, weapons, these sorts of things to survive. One of the best known engineering feats are the Great Pyramids of Giza. These pyramids were built over 4,000 years ago, and for the most part they still stand today. It's amazing with the amount of tools that they had just by hand and looking at the stars, sun and moon to align everything, that these pyramids were built within an eighth of an inch of being square at the base. These pyramids took over 2.5 million stones to build, and each one of the stones weighed over 2 tons. That's pretty impressive to hand cut, move, and place these stones, and to be that precise without any of the instruments we have today. So let's start on the degrees here at Nova. The first one we'll talk about is electrical engineering. If most of you are like me, you want nothing to do with electric. The only thing I've done as far as electrical is put in invisible fencing, and that'll shock you enough. But if you look around us today, the lighting in your house, the lighting in your office buildings, all the power grids that run cities. I'm sure a lot of you probably yell at the power companies during storms when the power goes out. But these are very sophisticated designs that take engineering degrees to do. I, for one, wouldn't want to be designing any electrical outlets or buildings, having the responsibility if something were to burn down. It's pretty incredible that the amount of time and effort that it takes to design a power grid. Like Culpeper, for instance, serves about 25,000 residents, and the grid here in Culpeper isn't big enough to supply the 25,000. So actually, power gets imported in from Dominion Power Lines and Rappahannock Electric. So in our small town, we have 3 different electric companies that provide into different areas of town, and that's only for 25,000 people. So I can only imagine what it would take for New York City or Chicago or LA for electrical requirements. The next one we'll talk about is computer engineering. As most of you know, we live on computers. We live on the smartphones. Myself, I have an iPhone and iPad for work, and I have Android for my personal use. I know I always get aggravated with all the updates on the iPhone, but that's just a progression that the computer engineers are going through. They see a problem, they fix it, debug it, and they send out new messages to tell you to download the new software. But computer engineers, you think about in the last 10 years how far it's come. I know from my iPad, for instance, I have the iPad Pro, and I can link into my office anywhere. Anywhere I go, I can link into any of my files or our network with the iPad. And all that is because of computer engineers and how they've been able to take computers that once were the size of houses or buildings, and now they can put so much information on a chip. Everything's out on the web or the cloud. I know I definitely get aggravated with the cloud. But those are just a few examples of computer engineering, and it's one of the fastest growing job markets today, just because of the technology that we're using and continuing to grow. The last one I'll talk about is civil engineering. This one's close to my heart because this is what I'm taking here at Nova. I've had construction experience for the last 20 years. I've had all the hands-on experience that goes into civil engineering. I just haven't had the classes or the piece of paper that sits on the wall that says I'm a civil engineer. Civil engineers, a lot of you probably don't know what they are, but they design everything you're out there driving on today, whether it be the roads, guardrails, the buildings, the stormwater management areas, the water and sewer lines. All this is part of civil engineering. And just to engineer a small subdivision, takes probably about a year to develop and design. Each phase you have to go through, design the water system and the sewer system. That goes through checking for, flow rates and can it handle X amount of houses or X amount of people living in those houses. Roadways. Perfect example, Northern Virginia, if any of you know what the mixing bowl is, it is a chaos of roads that works right now, but probably another 5 years they'll be redeveloping it again. But a lot of work goes into engineering, highways and roads. You have to take into consideration the amount of public that's around, the travel time that it takes to get from one place to another. I know if you travel from Culpeper to Northern Virginia, it could be an hour, it could be 3 hours. And that's a lot of the roads in that direction are just so undervalued that traffic just builds up on them. And the more they keep designing to increase the volumes, the more building that goes on, and then we're just 2 steps backwards. And that's something I'm involved in as far as review for subdivisions and roadways for the town of Culpeper. And again, it takes a lot of time, a lot of different people coming together to work on those engineering diagrams and put everything in place. I'm sure I've missed a lot of things as far as engineering, but that's going to give you the basis of what engineering is about and engineering degrees that are offered here at North Virginia Community College. I don't know if I remember seeing anybody else in our class that was doing any engineering, but I would highly recommend it. It's a great job. There's many aspects of engineering. Those are just a few that Nova has. But hope you enjoyed this speech, and see you next time.